Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's 5 p.m. And we are here really excited about this category. Welcome. My name is Mark Goldstein. I'm chairman of UCSF Health Hub and a producer of the UCSF Digital Health Awards. This is our semi-finalist round. We've got some really exciting companies that we're here to talk about. But before we get into the companies and the introductions, I'm just going to play a little video.
Welcome to the second annual UCSF Digital Health Awards 2020, the Academy Awards of Digital Health, where we honor the best technologies that are defining and leading the digital health revolution.
We want to improve healthcare, so we're really excited to be part of this wonderful evening.
Collaborators include the top healthcare incubators, accelerators, and venture capitalists across America, featuring the top 100 digital health innovators in the country selected from over 1,000 entries, 15 curated award categories, hundreds of judges selected from the healthcare community, healthcare industry thought leaders, thousands of online attendees, and dozens of virtual events, culminating in the September 23rd finals, honoring those who are reshaping the industry and making a difference in the COVID pandemic.
Join me, Twee Vu, as we honor the role digital healthcare plays in rewriting the future of health.
And the UCSF Digital Health Awards is narrating that future. Join us on September 23rd at 6 p.m. Pacific time for a 90-minute celebration as we honor these winners, changing the future of healthcare.
Okay. And here we go. We're going to get going. So my name is Mark Goldstein. I am the chairman of UCSF Health Hub. This is the remote diagnostics category, and this is our semi-finalist roundtable discussion. We've had 4 or 5 of these already today, so we're getting it down. You're not guinea pigs, but we're going to spend 45 minutes. We promise no more. Then you can basically go have dinner and get really through this stuff. We are privileged to have Daniel Kraft here as our moderator, and he's got some appetizers to show you later on. One big thing for this Remote Diagnostics Award, we are sponsored by NTT. NTT is sponsoring the award, and they're the big Japanese telecom company that is getting really, really serious about digital health, and we're excited to have them as a sponsor. So today's agenda, I'll make a few introductions, introduce Daniel. Daniel will then basically introduce the 4 companies that are our semi-finalists. The 4 companies will go through their 3 minutes, maybe up to 4, sort of discussion about them, why they're different, why they're special, and why they're here. We know they're all great companies, they're all winners from our perspective, but the goal today is for you to basically discern what might make one a little different from the other. We're then going to go into a roundtable discussion where we're going to have get some surprise questions in front of some of these companies and see how they answer them, how they're responding to COVID, how COVID's making a difference in their world and with their company. And we're going to take some questions from the audience. Again, this is me. And so Health Hub. Health Hub is, we are a nonprofit. We are UCSF's Innovation Center or Hub. We're based in Mission Bay, typically. Right now, we're not. But what are we doing at Health Hub? We were set up to really help health companies, specifically digital health companies, scale and grow. We're trying to find those companies, and we call them the software companies, the companies that have raised some money, that have had some form of validation. Our goal is to help them get to market more quickly, more successfully. And one of the things that we're doing is sponsoring this show. Now, this show isn't just being sponsored by UCSF Health Hub and UCSF. We have great sponsors. Wilson Sonsini is providing a major sponsorship. I mentioned NTT. Silicon Valley Bank, Livongo, also Novartis Biome is a sponsor. And these are some of the venture firms that are all contributors and donors to the to not only Health Hub, but also to the show. So none of this could be done without these firms. And so it's a real hats off to everyone. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce Daniel. I've known Daniel for a few years. We've done quite a few webinars together at Health Hub and what he's doing and how he's building up his new digital.health practice. He's been involved in exponential medicine. He's been the chair of the new XPRIZE Pandemic Alliance Task Force, which and he'll be able to talk a little more about that. And but with that, it's hard to really introduce Daniel, to not have Daniel introduce himself. So Daniel, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Mark, and to UCSF Health Hub for having me here. It's an honor and privilege, and also I've had a chance to be a judge the last couple of years, and I get to moderate this session as well. So I'm going to try and set it up a little bit with 2 minutes of a little bit of background and framing about remote diagnostics in the setting of digital health. I think it's probably one of the most exciting and impactful areas of digital health in the awards, because what it enables us to do is shift from our traditional models of sort of sick care based on intermittent episodic data, when our diagnostics is usually done and data is only collected from our patients or ourselves as patients in the four walls of the clinic or ER, God forbid, intensive care unit, intermittent episodic data. And that kind of really contributes to our sick care model, where we are reactive. We kind of wait for the heart attack or the stroke or a late stage cancer to progress, or a patient with chronic disease often decompensates at home without the measurements connected to the provider. And I think the potential of many of the entrants in this category, and certainly the semifinalists here, is to help us move to this near present day of continuous, proactive, anytime, anywhere healthcare. And a lot of that is driven by being able to capture and make sense of data, not just at the traditional clinic or bedside, but in the home or wherever a patient may be roaming as well. And so, of course, we're in the era of digital health. A lot of it is about connecting the dots between new data, and increasingly, as we're seeing here by the amazing participants in this entire Health Hub Digital Health Awards and the semifinalists, to start matching and collecting the data and personalizing that to the patient and to the clinical setting. And it's really a convergence of many fast-moving, sometimes exponential technologies that are enabling our ability now to collect our digital exhaust, our digitome, in many different ways, and hopefully translate that big data into actionable information that we as clinicians and patients can use. I always like to summarize that we're trying to shift from quantified self, where a lot of the data from our wearables, I'm wearing 4, sits on our smartphones and apps and starts to connect back to the clinical endeavor to enable us to measure and optimize health, to diagnose the disease early and monitor it. And when we're in the therapy mode, to do a much better feedback loop element of it. The challenge, of course, is us and our patients will soon be always online, lots of big data. Most doctors don't want more data alone. They want the actionable information. So a lot of work, and I think exemplified by the semifinalist winners, are making the data more accessible, digestible, actionable, aligning that with reimbursement and aligning incentives so the clinicians can use that, integrating into their workflow as opposed to being overwhelmed, that important fourth component of the quadruple aim. And eventually synthesize this into predictalytics, making sense of the information so it can provide value across the healthcare paradigm. So in summary, lots of great work happening amongst these startups and others at the convergence of technology, integrating with clinical, integrating with insights, the machine learning and AI. A lot of the, I think, crux of digital health is in remote patient monitoring and remote diagnostics. And so we can stop my slides here and head back. And so we're excited to cut to the chase here and announce and meet the semifinalists in this category. So if you can switch back to the main slides and drive those, let's meet our 4 winning companies. And if Health Hub will pull up their slides and drive those, we'll meet them all.
Well, let's see, before we do that, I'm gonna come up, imagine I'm calling up my screens here. See, it's whenever you do it with Daniel, everything changes, right? So it's
Changes?
well, there it is. Okay, no, there. It's okay. I've got you. I've got my desktop. I'll share it. It should be. Okay, is that? Can everyone see that? Are we looking at Daniel now, or no?
We're good. Yep.
Yes, yes.
All right, good. Good. Well, let's talk about how we got here with these companies. And then Daniel, I'm going to turn it over to you. This is the end of my bookend. These 4 companies are really winners. This was, of all the categories, this was probably the toughest because this is where there are a lot of, all the new action is, especially as it relates to COVID, so much of it is remote diagnostics. This is one of our 15 categories. We've spent over 3 months sifting and getting down to these 4 companies. There were hundreds of applications in the remote diagnostics category. We've gone through 3 rounds. We had a first round, we had a quarterfinal round, and we had a semifinal round. This is the result of the semifinal round. We've had 250 judges. These judges are clinicians, professors, doctors from UCSF, from the UC system, from basically hospitals around the country. They're venture capitalists, they're analysts, they're folks running healthcare systems. They're folks that basically feel really good about their knowledge of healthcare, and especially digital health. So our judging criteria to get here, our first round of our judging criteria was a lot around validation and market traction uniquely. We wanted to make sure that the companies that got to our quarterfinals were real, were in market, and that had a lot of referenceable customers. Our second round, we started focusing more on the solution, which is what was really the value that these products were providing to customers and services, and how important was it? So 1 out of 10, you got up to 10 points for value. Are you changing the world, or are you just changing a very small subsegment of the world? Level of innovation, are you a fast follower, or are you really innovating and taking the lead in your niche, in your sector? Validation and market traction, of course, are very important. They're super important here. Our goal from after the award show is we're going to spend a lot of our time, as we did last year, working with hospital systems to make sure they know of you guys. They know who the semifinalists are. They know who the winners are, because we want to help you get into these hospital systems, get into these big clinics. You guys can sell product. And then the final thing is level of differentiation. How are you guys different? Why are you guys the best? Why are you guys amazing? So that's sort of what we went through. So with that, Daniel, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Great. Well, let's meet the winners, semifinalists in the diagnostics category. We've got 4 amazing semifinalists: Conversa, iRhythm, Circadia, and BardyDx. And we're going to hear from each of them for about 3 or so minutes, learning about what they're doing, their visions for today and the future. Here's a sort of basic overview, and I'm going to start. I think we're starting with Judith from iRhythm, and we'll go from there. Over to you, Judith.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much. I'm so pleased to be here. I want to thank the judges for selecting iRhythm Technologies as a semifinalist. I'm Judy Linan. I'm the Chief Clinical Officer and EVP of Products, and I'm pleased to represent the innovative work of my iRhythm colleagues. So what's unique about iRhythm? Well, first, we estimate that there are more than 10 million Americans who are at risk for a common heart disorder known as atrial fib or AFib. Today in the US and throughout the world, cardiac arrhythmias like AFib remain a leading cause of stroke. And technology that was commercialized in the 60s called Holter monitors are still widely used for cardiac arrhythmia detection. Imagine a world where we continue to use technology from the 60s. And what Daniel just showed me and showed all of us is the vision is so different. But yet it's that driving change. And that's really what iRhythm is trying to redefine: how cardiac arrhythmias are diagnosed by combining wearable biosensors with cloud-based data analytics, AI algorithm, and digital tools to bring accurate remote monitoring to the wider population. We have 2 products, Zio XT for low-risk patients and Zio AT for high-risk patients. Again, what has our journey been like? What is our existing patient experience? So first off, we are FDA cleared. You require a physician prescription. We're contracted with all large insurance providers and Medicare, which has been an incredible journey, as you can imagine. And our services are currently now only available in over 6,000 locations, but there's many, many more in the US and worldwide that could benefit from our technology. The device is either applied in an in-clinic setting, or more recently, we pivoted the majority of our business and our care to a home enrollment process. In that process, the patient is shipped a device directly. The patient applies a device with digital tools. The patient connects through a My Zio app, smartphone app, or uses texting for help with tracking symptoms and healthcare reminders. Our clinicians then provide a comprehensive and actionable report by analyzing data with FDA-cleared algorithms for multiple arrhythmias, of which we are the first. The reports are then posted online or pushed out to an EHR. We also have thought about the physician providers. The ZioSuite mobile app provides the physician's roster of patients in their hand. They get critical report notifications are right there, and the capacity to contact the patient directly from the app is what we created. How do we differentiate ourselves? Well, since receiving FDA clearance, iRhythm has provided Zio services to over 2.5 million patients and has collected over 600 million hours of curated ECGs, creating what we understand to be the largest repository of continuous labeled ECG data. Driving new clinical insights and observations are being generated. We most recently provided a new clinical insight at the May conference of the Heart Rhythm Society. We're driven to demonstrate clinical superiority. Zio is clinically validated in over 35 peer-reviewed publications with another 51 research studies underway. One research study published in Nature Med demonstrated the results of an experiment that was with iRhythm, UCSF, and Stanford, and that we were able to demonstrate deep learning algorithms detected and classified as arrhythmias as expertly trained cardiologists. Imagine how we can help physicians be more effective. So why iRhythm? Why should we be honored with this? We really are addressing an unmet clinical need, and we're redefining how cardiac arrhythmias are diagnosed with remote patient monitoring technology that includes cloud-based data analytics and AI. And we really have demonstrated our clinically validated digital platform is disrupting the standard of ambulatory care, and we're replacing outdated technologies with connected digital solutions. So thank you so much for considering iRhythm as a leader in remote diagnostic digital healthcare.
Thanks so much, Judy. I actually remember when this company got started out of Stanford Biodesign by a cardiologist, Uday Kumar.
Right.
Right. A lot of this about finding a pain point, an unmet need, in this case, Holter monitors, and looking at how technology could address that in new ways. So kudos to all the success you guys have had and where you're heading.
Thank you. Got a long way to go still.
Next up, we're going to hear from Conversa, and Murray, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel, and thanks for having Conversa. I'm Murray Brzezinski, CEO, and we're thrilled to be in the category with all the other great companies here. So Conversa has an automated virtual care and triage platform. And what it does, it basically recognizes, as Daniel talked about, that we need to move from reactive to proactive care. And the only way you really can do that is to be able to put the patient at the center. Everybody talks about it, but the only way really to do it is to take all the wisdom from the patient. So when we think about remote patient diagnostics or remote patient management, we think about it as a combination of remote patient engagement and remote patient monitoring. So our platform collects anything you can capture from a sensor. So all these devices that the other folks here are going to be talking about, and RPM devices, wearables, that whole world, coupled with anything a patient can tell you. So validated patient-reported outcomes, informal answers to questions. And we take that, and in real time, we analyze the interaction. So there's a very frequent interactions with the patients, collect the information, and then we respond. So it's two-way, and it's identifying if the patient is on track on an evidence-based pathway. And if the patient is on track, it's providing motivation for them to continue. If they're off track, it's using behavioral science techniques embedded in software and AI to nudge them back on track in their care journey. And if they're off track and need to be escalated to the next level of care, it's a smart triage system. So it decides this patient needs a phone call, this other patient needs a telehealth visit, another patient needs to have an in-person visit or an emergency. And so if you think about it, we can take what really about 70% of the health system can be done by computers and done by AI and offload it so that the scarce resources of healthcare professionals can practice at the top of their license. So it's designed to work in harmony with the healthcare system. It's fully integrated into the workflow. It pulls out all the data that we know about a patient. So we integrate with the EHR, we integrate with CRM systems, we integrate with over 350 and growing RPM and wearable devices. So what makes us different from other wonderful RPM companies is many of them are attached to a device. They're a full stack, they're focusing on a specific use case, which are very important and necessary. This is designed for a health system who wants to adopt a platform. It's hard to manage lots of different point solutions. And so we've got a library of evidence-based automated virtual pathways from post-acute to chronic care management, to perioperative, to OBG, to cancer care. And so the whole idea is you enroll patients. Where we see this going in 5 years is every single patient can be on this program. The marginal cost is near zero to put a patient on this program. The percentage of those patients that require an RPM device to collect information through sensors for biometric information, it accommodates that. It identifies those patients that are moving from low risk to rising risk where you need more of those devices. And so it's doing all the time, real-time risk stratification. So when we put this together, it comes back to Daniel's point about the quadruple aim. We are improving the patient experience. It works like a virtual health assistant sitting on your shoulder as the patient. So if you have diabetes, it's walking you down your journey. If you just were discharged from the hospital, it's walking you through that journey. And then all that information is coming back. Your provider has it. So it's a shared experience. You can do shared decision making. It's promoting self-care. And again, for those patients that need additional high level of care, it's triaging to those additional levels. So we're working with, thousands of outpatient facilities, most of the large health, mostly large health systems. We also work with payers and other healthcare organizations that manage populations of patients at scale. And the proof is in the pudding with all of these systems, which is, are you delivering outcomes? And so in addition to improving the patient experience, reducing burnout for providers, reducing cost, we are really driving really important clinical and operational outcomes. So reducing all-cause readmissions, improving the number of people who come in for procedures that they need to have, improving adherence on really difficult treatments, and ultimately making patients healthier and getting better care. Thanks for having us.
Great. Thanks, Murray. One of the, I think, key points is you're a bit device agnostic. It's kind of bring your own device and you're able to integrate that across the patient journey.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks. Congrats. All right. Over to Circadia, which I think fits the class of not wearables, but invisibles, new ways of collecting data for early detection. And we're going to hear from their co-founder and CEO, Faraz Siddiqui. Faraz. You're muted.
Mute.
Faraz, can you, can't hear him. So I'm going to call it audible, and maybe we're going to go to Bobby for a second.
Yep.
Faraz, why don't you log out, log back in? Can you hear us, Faraz? Can't hear you.
Yeah, he's let him log out. It's on
Yeah.
his. Okay, Bardy, go.
Sure. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Very fortunate to be associated with such a fine group of other companies that are really helping patients on a daily basis. But very fortunate to be here and want to thank UCSF for this opportunity, but more importantly, the BardyDiagnostics family for putting us on the map. Really, BardyDiagnostics was designed to overcome many of the problems physicians experience in the cardiac monitoring space. From poor sensitivity, poor patient compliance, poor results, complexity, all the wires that were associated with cardiac monitoring, patients just frustration. We were designed to overcome those, but also some of the newer monitors today, some of the monitors that offer mobile telemetry or some of the newer patches or the implantable monitors. The frustrations that physicians are having on a regular basis are not around just patient compliance, but poor quality data. And no other company has really set out to solve that problem. Most of the other companies in the cardiac monitoring space today have been around for a while and have really been delivering the same data to physicians. And physicians really don't know what they're missing until they get a taste of what BardyDiagnostics has been able to deliver. So Dr. Bardy, a practicing electrophysiologist for 40 plus years, has invented monitors such as the subcutaneous ICD. He invented the injector tool for the first ICM. He was lead investigator on SCUD heft. I mean, a gentleman that's done a lot for patient care, lost his wife from sudden cardiac arrest. Imagine being in the seat of an EP who loses his wife. And he lost his wife after suffering from arrhythmias for 10 years and got frustrated with the quality of the data. So firsthand set out to build a product like the Cam Patch, which you see to my left or to my right, I'm not sure which side, but regardless, we designed a monitor from the ground up that focused on delivering a clear signal. You can see a P wave consistently with the Bardy Cam Patch. And what does that mean? That means you're not getting just one half of the picture, which is really what the ventricles or the bottom part of the heart is delivering, but what the upper chambers of the heart are delivering. We don't deliver generic terms for what your heart's doing or problems your heart is having, like SVT or fib flutter. So what does that mean for you? And what does that mean for the patient and the physician? That means that we're delivering real data that the physician can act upon, that gets the patients the answers that they need to make them feel more comfortable about the process of care or the trajectory of care that they're gonna have with their physician and partner together to make decisions on what's going to lead to a better quality of life, and why and how are we different from most other companies? You know, the cardiac issues that are involved with COVID today are unprecedented. Honestly, they're still unknown. We don't know some of those issues, and we believe that the Cam Patch is positioned with our clarity and our comfort and our convenience for the patient, the practice, and the physician to deliver the answers that we're going to need to figure out over time. You know, it's most of other companies focus on improving quality of life for patients and supporting the transition to telehealth. We've done both of those as well. But during this public health emergency, being able to accurately diagnose arrhythmias is critical. The Cam provides a greater impact on that clinical decision-making, as in some head-to-head studies that have been published against Holters and other patch monitors that are on the market. We were found to have high ECG tracing clarity. We were also found to identify atrial arrhythmias like aflutter, atrial tachycardia, where other monitors could not. Ventricular tachycardia, in these studies that were published in the American Heart Journal, we found VT in a number of patients where other monitors missed. And these are big issues that if you can't see these, physicians can't make the proper decisions on how to treat their patients. And we believe that that's what we're doing for physicians, which in the end is reducing costs in the healthcare system because we're getting answers to problems first, faster. We're helping patients feel better about their care. And we're just giving the system more actionable results. And truly believe that with our mail to patient program, our home enrollment program, we've adapted to COVID. QT monitoring is a huge issue. And one of the published studies, we are validated in being compared to the standard of care in measuring QT in a simple patch monitor. So we feel like we've done a lot during COVID for patients, for the physicians, and for the physicians' practices. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Bobby. And now in the theme of AI is easy, AV is hard, back to Circadia to tell us about their diagnostic approach.
Daniel, can you hear me now?
I got you now. Go ahead.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. Faris Siddiqui, CEO and co-founder. At Circadia, we're building a ubiquitous remote monitoring platform to prevent the third leading cause of death, which is respiratory failure. So in the case of COVID, pneumonia, sepsis, COPD exacerbations, a lot of patients end up in hospital, about 3.5 million hospitalizations, 1.7 million ICU admissions occur every year in the US alone. And so what we're building is a truly contactless monitoring device that fuses radar with artificial intelligence. So the device that I'm holding in my hand here, if you can see this, it uses radar. And from up to 4 feet away, we can stream 12 biosignals. We're FDA cleared for respiratory status monitoring. Respiratory status in general, if you look at it, is one of the most underreported, undervalued, or neglected vital signs currently across the clinical care. If you look at conditions such as hypertension, you have BP cuffs. For diabetes, you have glucose meters. But for anything respiratory related, there isn't that one standard tool that's deployable across the care continuum. And so at Circadia, our key goal is to augment clinicians with continuous data to help with early detection of clinical deterioration. We have installed these devices across a range of different skilled nursing facilities in the US. We're doing a trial with the Cleveland Clinic to develop our predictive or diagnostic capabilities in COVID patients specifically. We have a remote monitoring project ongoing with UCLA. And our top of funnel sales pipeline at the moment is growing due to COVID. So we're targeting about 30,000 beds. Our key primary market are nursing homes. 40% of all COVID deaths have occurred in nursing homes. And it's a wide space monitoring segment. Elderly fragile, frail patients require a convenient solution, and that's what we're building. So we have an opportunity here to build the world's largest biobank of respiratory, motion, sleep, and environmental data, and we're looking to do that and save patient lives.
Great, and full disclosure, I have an early consumer version of this that tracks my sleep kind of seamlessly. And so I think there's a wide variety of applications from hospital to home, right? So great, thanks to all our semifinalists for presenting. We've got just about 15 minutes left and have a chance to have a discussion with all of them, and also encourage you to send your questions in via the chat. And sort of some starter questions that I'll sort of help lead off with. Maybe the obvious one is it's the time of COVID. We did a whole UCSF Health Hub series on hospital to home in the time of COVID. And maybe I start with Judy on
Sure.
now that we're seeing some of the cardiac implications as well of COVID. Are you picking some of that signal up in your remote diagnostics, and where might you take infectious disease meets cardiology?
Oh, absolutely. So we quickly pivoted. We have 7 studies underway on COVID because one of the things we don't understand is what is the long-term impact of COVID on basically on the myocardium. And so really trying to get to what is this pattern. We also recently took our outpatient telemetry devices inside to the inpatient setting to provide more beds. And that work was recently published with Montefiore in New York. So we increased their bed capacity by bringing outpatient monitoring to the inpatient setting. So I only have 30 seconds, right? Okay.
Pitching it over maybe to Bobby, similar question. I mean, are there new forms of arrhythmias now with the thought of vascular disease in the heart and long-term sequelae that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think we're in the same boat as Judith. I mean, we're really at trying to help pioneer answers for physicians. I think our biggest contribution is just really pivoting quickly for the home enrollment and really helping physicians adopt telehealth and really assisting them in that fashion. Obviously, tons of clinical studies as well, and then ultimately, we've added QT measurements every 4 hours on all of our patients when requested or when we identified patients as COVID patients. And the idea that we have a single-use device that doesn't have to get sent back to the practice and reused keeps the physician's office safe and keeps the patient from having to get a device that might not have been cleaned. So we feel that we've done the best we can to pivot with COVID. And like Judith said, a lot's unknown, and we're trying to figure that out with some of the experts in the space.
As far as obviously respiratory status, COVID monitoring, a lot of folks obviously don't need to come into the hospital at all, but you want to understand the triage piece. How do you guys plug into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the early sort of work that we've started already, and we've now amassed somewhere in the region of 200 nights of data on COVID patients across 40 different COVID patients. We've been able to demonstrate pre-COVID symptoms. We've been able to monitor patients while they've had COVID and then as they're recovering. There's unfortunately some data sets that we have where patients have also passed away. So there's some interesting work that our data scientists are doing to be able to help build the early detection piece to help triage in a timely manner.
Great, thanks. And I guess, Murray, you're looking at a lot of convergent data and conversing back and forth about it. What lessons have you seen that might be illustrative?
Yeah, we are. We took a 2-pronged approach. So first, all of our programs have populations of very vulnerable patients. So we ramped up immediately chronic kidney disease and lung transplant patients, really to keep them out of the hospital. So all these patients that were previously coming in, we were able to manage very effectively at home so they didn't have to come in and put themselves at risk of getting COVID. And then we developed a suite of direct COVID programs to help with the crisis. So we developed a screener triage program. We developed the first daily COVID screener for healthcare workers and then essential workers along with UCSF. We partnered with Northwell Health and developed the ability to deliver lab results fully automated because all their call centers got overwhelmed. We worked with UNC Health and developed quarantine programs to help patients who were positive to manage themselves through the 14-day quarantine period. We came out with a program more recently with UCSF called the COPE program, which is managing mental health. So stress, anxiety, and PTSD from COVID specifically, initially with healthcare workers and now for the general patient populations and the public at large. And now we've got community programs. So we have about a dozen health systems that are helping to manage people come back to work and back to school using that suite of programs I just described. So it's basically taking this automated virtual care and triage and applying it to keep people connected without getting infected in their conditions that they're currently managing, and then adding COVID on top of that. So being able to screen patients who are coming in for elective procedures, we've now got, so we move very quickly to address the issue.
Nice.
So I think I love this question. I'm kind of going to go around the horn about what your company is doing to change the status quo, old versus new. And obviously lots of innovation in healthcare often is hindered by misaligned incentives, reimbursement models, regulatory. Judy, you guys are kind of a big category changer from years or so ago. Maybe some lessons learned there, and
sure. Well, I'm really proud. I don't know if you saw the press release this past week, last week, I think, from the AMA that put out that they have recognized that extended cardiac monitoring with artificial intelligence is really a very valuable tool from the work that was led by iRhythm. And so that was in a press release, and there will be a new CPT code for extended cardiac monitoring with AI coming in January. So it's been a long, hard battle. But again, we've really helped partner with the AMA and all the professional societies to really understand how we can use AI in an assistive manner. I think that's the biggest point for me is it's really an assistive manner. How can we help physicians practice well? How can we get better data to people? And that's really what our mission is and where we're focused. And how can we use the power of the data to also do better predictive work? So that's what we're challenged for in the future. Now we've got to get that reimbursed. So.
Exactly. As far as you're one of the newer entrants and you're a bit of a category shifter, again, kind of invisible, is not having to wear a device and charge it up. What do you see as your sort of changing a status quo and also changing clinician and healthcare system behavior to integrate your type of solution?
Yeah, so firstly, I'd like to talk a bit more about the business model that we have. So we've actually validated the RPM CPT codes. We're successfully reimbursing. It's the third month straight after FDA clearance. So we haven't had to go out and seek or develop those CPT codes. They already exist. And that's helping with uptake. So we're leveraging that channel. Primarily from a product standpoint, how we're changing the status quo is by giving continuous data and ensuring that clinicians can use the data very easily. So we have a partnership now with Point Click Care, which is the single largest post-acute EHR system provider. And so we're posting data directly into EHR systems to help with ease of clinical adoption. But we also have our own web portals that help with alerting and reporting, which doesn't exist within the sort of existing boundaries of the EHR system that exists at the moment.
And Murray, you're now trying to change the way care is done with your sort of interface and feedback loops. What's the old way versus new way as you summarize it?
Yeah, it's that broad. I think we are changing the way care is done. We're really we're putting the patient in the process by taking, as I said before, all the data you can capture, all the wisdom from a patient, from the EMR, from CRM, from all these RPM devices, and most importantly, what they can tell us to put all that in context and making it two-way. And so we're fundamentally, really helping to drive behaviors that are linked to outcomes. And we have lots of validation, lots of publications and case studies around doing that. And the ROI is there just from reducing cost and from improving outcomes. But as far as the reimbursement landscape that we're excited about, one, we're optimizing the acuity mix. So we're driving the right telehealth visits and the right e-visits, and those are all reimbursable today. We are working on the analytics through, and again, I love what was said before about augmenting. It's augmented intelligence, not replacing. Being able to do the analytics on patient-generated health data, which we're defining much more broadly than just biometric data. And so you can qualify for the 20 minutes a month per patient. But most importantly, we're driving some changes, hopefully, in HCPCS and the RPM CPT codes around reimbursing for spending less time rather than spending more time. Because our platform is all about freeing up all of this time for providers to spend the quality time with patients that they need, practice at the top of their license, and take all the inefficiency out of the system.
And I'll pitch it over to Bobby for a two-part question to riff into our last bit because we only have 5 minutes left. So Bobby, what do you see you guys as your status quo changer? And then secondly, for all of you, what lessons have you learned? You guys are the quarterfinalists. You've been narrowed down from a very large set of amazing startups.
Very cool.
It might help other companies, founders, organizations learn in this digital health age into diagnostics. And I would argue a lot of what you guys are doing is monitoring as well, and is going to tie into clinical trials and many other cross-fertilization. So Bobby, over to you.
I'll be quick. I think what we've done to change the status quo is a lot, actually, in the sense that we are enabling physicians to see one of the smallest parts of the ECG that has been unable to be seen for years. And there have been other companies that have pioneered some amazing technology, but they really haven't focused on the quality of the data. And that quality data really impacts how a physician makes a decision. And I feel like I might repeat myself sometimes, but it's really important to note that. So the game-changing part of what we do is give physicians the ability to see the upper chambers of the heart. SVT is a common term. How do you treat SVT? Ask any cardiologist how they treat SVT, and they'll say it depends on what's happening in the atrium. And we give the physicians the ability to see that so they can make decisions faster in the EP lab, or family practice doctors not sending a patient to see a cardiologist that doesn't need to go see a cardiologist. So we're saving the patient's money, we're saving physicians time, we're really focused on the healthcare system in general. And now we do believe that there's a role for AI. We also believe there's we kind of call it augmented intelligence as well. Sometimes it's artificial intelligence, others, and then we believe there's a place for human intelligence because we believe that the brain is more powerful than a computer in some situations. So I think that there's a combination of things. But what have we learned? Honestly, the simple answer is for any other company, you put the patient first, the physician second, and you forget everything else. It'll all come together if you put them in that order. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bobby. Patient-centered care. Judy, over to you. Similar question. Lessons learned. You guys have learned a lot, I think.
We have learned a lot and continue to learn. I think for us, it's really looking across and understanding what new technology is continuing to evolve. You cannot rest. You have to continue to evolve. And that's what we're dedicated to, and really bringing in the best of other industries also into really, how do we really leverage, and we have to do healthcare differently. And that's what we're committed to. So.
All right.
Yeah, so I mean, we're a London-based company, so we're outside of the confines of the U.S. healthcare system. So for us to be able to understand the U.S. healthcare system in the first place was a bit of a journey. To sort of help other companies out there, there's 4 main key stakeholders that you should always keep in mind whenever you're designing a problem or solving a problem. Designed for patients, providers, healthcare professionals, and payers in mind. If you can solve for all these 4 boxes, I think you're onto something. And I think for us, we've only raised 1.3 million since 2016. We've been very lean as a company. Staying lean and understanding what your clinical product market fit is super important. And I think we as a company, we're extremely proud to be where we are and sort of solving a problem in a time of need.
And I agree with everybody, with everything that was just said. We have a mantra in the company. It's PDO, patients, data, outcomes. You got to do it in that order. So patients have to come first. You got the data, and then you have to deliver the outcomes. And the one thing I think I would add is we think about the whole patient and the whole system. So I think increasingly going into the future, you can't just treat, one condition. There's so much of the population is comorbid. You really need to understand not only the different diseases, but the social determinants and the patient's goals, and they change, and the situations change, which is why this frequent check-in is important. I think two-way is important, being able to have a conversation, change behavior, because that's what drives outcomes. And I think systems increasingly are today, and even more so in the future, going to be looking for enterprise-wide solutions. It's very difficult to manage point solutions in different service lines. You need to, if you're going to deal with the whole patient, you have to deal with a system that can see the patient and put all that data together and understand how to respond and treat in a virtual way the same way you would do in a physical way.
Great. Well, thanks to you and all the winners, quarterfinalists. You're great examples of innovation and taking things into impactful ways into the clinic. And I'm going to hand it back over to Mark Goldstein, our fearless leader, and kudos to Mark and the UCSF Health Hub and Digital Health Award team for everything you've done to pull off the second year of the Academy Awards for Digital Health. It's really impressive, impressive feat.
Nice job.
And Daniel, you're like, you're best actor, man. So look, guys, this was a great panel. you have four companies. You're different companies. You're focusing on different problems. Super articulate. I saw a lot of the responses. Everyone was really happy on how they spent their last 45 minutes. So congratulations to all you. You're all winners. What's next? Well, what's next is basically the grand finale. So grand finale is only in 8 days or so. It's intentionally, we've set it from 6 to 7:30 p.m. That's PT. And we've done it because we want it to really be a celebration. We want people to be kicking back with tequila in hand, just to be relaxing. And seriously, I say this because this has been a really terrible year. And what we're doing here is actually we're celebrating what it is we're doing to make it a less terrible year. And it's like you are the winning companies, and we're going to have a great focus on a whole section on COVID, in which Bob Wachter is going to be running. And it's going to be, we're really excited about next week. And you guys are, without you, we couldn't do it. So everyone, friends, family, cousins, tweet, tell everyone to sign up for this. We want 10,000 people to be there. That's what we're shooting for. And 8 days, and good luck to you all. And see you in a week.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks so
Mark.
much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Great job, Daniel.
You too. Congrats. See you next time.
Yes, sir.
Cheers.